Recreationists have turned to Arizona's vast open spaces in greater numbers than ever before. By foot, bike, or horse, the Arizona Trail, the scenic 800-mile path transecting the state, is attracting outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. Early visionaries for this monumental and sometimes rugged adventure never imagined it would receive this kind of attention when they were blazing the way 4 decades ago.
The idea of an Arizona Trail was just kind of a dream, but the more we thought about it, the better idea we thought it was.
Longtime Flagstaff surgeon and expert birder Dr. John Hildebrand visits with his friend Jim Babbitt in Buffalo Park on a bench dedicated to their hiking pal, Dale Shewalter. A Flagstaff teacher, Shewalter is remembered for his warm heart and big idea about walking across Arizona from Utah to Mexico.
Anyway, the three of us, Dale and Dr. Hildebrand and myself, we were all big time into hiking. So I think when Dale had been dreaming, as were others, about a trail north to south, what later became the Arizona Trail. And so we began meeting, and maybe you can pick it up there.
Well, I don't remember too much about it, but we had one meeting at our house and one meeting at Dale's, and just talking about the possibilities and looking at the map and trying to figure out where would be the best place for the trail to go. And hopefully we were, planning to use many of the trails that are already in existence to tie in with.
Long distance hiking wasn't, in those days, anywhere near as popular of a thing to do as it is now. And I remember going to your house and having all these rolled up maps, and Dale would get them out and unroll them, and we'd look for hours at, these topographic maps of various segments of the trail. And, you could just tell that Dale was burning inside with this idea of making the trail. And so we got on board. I mean, there was nothing to not get on board about it. It sounded like a fabulous idea to us.
From elbows on the table to boots on the ground, the friends covered a lot of wildland long before trails ever existed. Dr. Hildebrand was the source for the San Francisco Peaks route north of Flagstaff.
The one thing that specifically that I remember doing sometime in the late 70s, I think, was flagging the Kachina Trail across the south side of the peaks. The views, of course, of the peak were always wonderful, particularly in the fall when the aspens were changing.
Babbitt, a Flagstaff native, led the way around Lake Mary through the forest he explored as a child.
I just always enjoyed the elevation and being able to look over the lakes and look over the forest. And there was always wildlife up there, antelope, and just beautiful country, as it all is.
Almost all of the Arizona Trail's 800 miles are on public land, but one very important stretch from the San Francisco Peaks to the Grand Canyon would require support from a prominent Arizona landowner.
We had to go across Babbitt land to get to the Grand Canyon.
Fortunately, they had connections.
I was on the ranch board of primarily family members, and so they were monitoring this whole Arizona Trail project and our participation in it, very closely, very enthusiastically, very glad to see that recreational component. And I think they were real happy to have updates, as it went along. And then when it was finally completed, everybody had a big celebration. But it was a big deal, I think, for Babbitt Ranches and for the board to be a partner in all this.
The Babbitt Ranches passage has historical relevance. It aligns with an old stagecoach route that went to the Grand Canyon in the early 1900s.
And there was a stagecoach from Flagstaff that went, and I think they made it in a day, but it must have been, they changed horses 3 times, and it must have been, fast trip, because it's a long way.
One of the stops was actually on our ranch at Cedar Ranch, and for the horses to drink out of the spring there, they got big old pine trees, chopped them down, and then hollowed them out. And they had a series of them coming down from the spring. That's the way they moved the water. So, a lot of history way before the Arizona Trail.
The first to build a sign to mark the Babbitt Ranch passage was Babbitt Ranch's president and general manager, Billy Cordasco. A replica marks the spot today, a segment recently improved and celebrated by the Arizona Trail Association.
The family's certainly proud of what part we've played, and I'm individually proud of what tiny part I played, and being able to be involved in it with Dr. Hildebrand and Dale. We understood that it was a gigantic challenge, I think.
Yeah, and we would both say without hesitation that Dale is really the one that did all the work, and we were just like consultants.